Nora and ask about boots, too.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Today is Monday, December 6, 2010. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We are officially at our first council meeting in December, and in order to make this meeting official, we've got some public safety officers in the audience, as you can hear. Clerk Spencer, if you can please call the roll.
Gutenkopf.
Here.
Pezza.
Here.
Shea.
Here.
Leader.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Bram.
Here.
Hipskin.
Here.
York.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
13 present, 0 absent.
13 present, 0 absent. We have an official quorum. First on the agenda, actually third on the agenda, is the recognition of a community and Elmhurst public safety team in a life-saving effort. And I invite the Chief Neubauer to come to the podium. But occasionally we have a situation where somebody does something that's beyond what most people would ever think of doing. And Chief, can you explain exactly what happened here and how we're on it, who we're honoring? And we've got some public citizens that stepped up in the situation, and actually our police and fire guys are always there to help. So, Chief, take it away.
Certainly. Could I please ask Bridget Simkowski to come up here, Officer Guy Schweik, firefighter Kyle Salick, Jimmy Erickson, paramedics Jessica Arquette and Dave Metzger, and Charles Yardley. Would you mind stepping up? You know, we sit here Monday night after Monday night and discuss things like budgets and training and how many police, how many fire, how we should run the city, how public safety should work. And we talk a lot about community. We honor a lot of community people, a lot of community events. October 25th, this all came together. A fine police department, a fine fire department, and a wonderful citizen who all got involved and had a life-saving effort. On that day, it was a beautiful, warm day, which is a little hard to remember today. Bridget was out riding her bike along with, well, separately, I guess, but Mr. Yardley was out riding his bike. Mr. Yardley collapsed and wound up on the pavement without a pulse, and he wasn't breathing. Bridget's a nurse. She stopped. She was very close. She stopped to render aid. And as luck would have it, Officer Schweik was around the corner in a squad car, very close to the area before he even got a 911 call, with an automatic external defibrillator, one of the things that we brought to the city council to buy and train officers on and things like that. And Bridget, who's a registered nurse, and Officer Schweik were able to shock Mr. Yardley and save his life. He was laying on the street with no vital signs, and these good citizens and professionals were able to shock him back to life. The paramedics came and took over and got Mr. Yardley to the hospital and taken care of. Commander Terry, who's in the back there, had suggested that this might be an interesting, a good thing for the city council so the community could know what a good community we have. Good police, good fire, and good citizens. I said, that's fine, but how's Mr. Yardley doing? We ought to check and make sure he's okay. So Commander Terry called him and told me, he comes back, this was a few days later, he says he's eating soup and watching TV, so I guess that was a pretty good deal. So Bridget and the life-saving team, our hats go off to you. Mayor, did you want to present this?
Absolutely. May I add, I mentioned to Bridget when I walked in, nothing better than a nurse. I married a nurse. I met her my sophomore year in college at Triton, and nurses step up. They are the ones that do all the work. I can actually say that because my wife works her tail off at Loyola. But they're often the ones that are don't get a whole lot of credit, and they're the ones that keep people alive. And in this situation, this lady saved this guy's life, and that's just terrific. She's a hero. And with that, communication award for Bridget Simkowski, life-saving. On October 25th, 2010, at 10:41 a.m., Bridget Simkowski was riding her bicycle in the 200 block of Cottage Hill. At that time, a 61-year-old man, also on a bicycle, collapsed and fell into the street. Mrs. Simkowski, a nurse, stopped to render aid. She quickly determined that the victim was not breathing and had no pulse. Mrs. Simkowski prepared to begin CPR when Officer Schweck arrived with his AUD, automatic external defibrillator. The victim was successfully shocked. Mrs. Simkowski remained on the scene and rendered aid until the victim was safely in the ambulance. The City of Elmhurst would like to recognize Ms. Simkowski's actions in this life-saving effort of a fellow citizen in need. Mrs. Simkowski, God bless. Congratulations.
Just the thought of Mr. Yardley being here today was reward enough for me. But the fact that Elmhurst gives awards to ordinary people who do good things is very special, and it means a lot to me. And it means a lot to live in a community where people do stop and help. So thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Also, I'd like to give a round of applause for Officer Scheck and for all the paramedics who were on the scene. And as the chief mentioned, you know, we're up here making decisions that affect lives. And that's why I ran for mayor, was because I want to keep this town safe. I want a high quality of life. And this is proof that, you know, many departments don't have AUDs in the squad cars, and we do. And we have officers that are trained to know how to use them. And when they're first on the scene, and I know many of us up here know what it's like to have an officer first on the scene, it's important to have people know what they're doing. And to have private citizens heroes like Bridget step up is terrific. So God bless. Thank you very much. And how you feeling there, sir? God bless. All right. Thank you. And today's a big celebration, not only for heroes like Bridget, but also for teams that do amazing things, for individuals that do amazing things. Chief Cop, take it away. Assistant City Manager Cop, take it away.
Joe is successful because Joe just touches the lives of everyone around him.
It tells you that no matter how bad you're feeling, you can always keep going no matter what.
Anybody knows Coach Newton knows he's successful because of his work ethic, his dedication, and his commitment.
What really makes him special is the fact that he cares about everyone on the team.
He sees the smallest amount of talent in somebody and makes it into a mountain of talent.
Just gets into his runners' minds and just teaches them how to be good men.
He can take just ordinary, regular, everyday Joes and turn them into phenomenal runners.
His ability to mold people into mature people, successful people.
What Coach Newton did for me couldn't put a price tag on for any of those athletes. It's because, you know, at the end of the day, there's one guy that believed in you, and that was a coach.
Well, the thing I see about Joe is his love for the sport, his dedication for the sport, and his knowledge, and he is a teacher. Everybody has different ways of teaching. He has his way, I have mine, everybody's different. His way has been very successful. This guy is one of the greatest coaches this country's ever had. High school, college, whatever. He belongs up there with all the good people. That's how good he is.
I miss the team unity. I miss the family-like atmosphere. I miss having a coach who was kind of like a second father. The only reason I'm where I'm at today is because of Mr. Newton, what he did for me.
Joe Newton's successful simply because he demands things from athletes that aren't the average. And I don't mean demanding workouts, he demands a good life from them and what's expected in life.
I knew when I was 7, 8, 9 years old I wanted to be a coach. One of the statements that I make that attracts kids is the fact that I'm gonna tell you what, son, if you come with me, every single day that you come to this school, when you come out for cross-country after school, you got a place where you'll get some tender, loving care. So everybody's accountable. The old-timers hold the new guys accountable. And the new guys on the team, they hold each other accountable. So that's good training for life also. It's kind of like a special bond of group of guys that they're always members of the long green line. Always members of the long green line. Always members of the long green line.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege and honor to invite Coach Joe Newton to the podium.
First function is to give the mayor, this is a 27th state championship medal, and he's a former York runner. When he was at York High School in his 4 years, we won every single year, but I don't know if I gave Pete a medal back then, so we're going to give him one tonight. I want a nice hand for the mayor. I am very proud to be here. And I'm very humble to be here. And I'm also very cold to be here. I love Elmhurst. I love York High School. I've been at York High School now for 55 years. I don't know where my life went. Those pictures, they were a long time ago up there. I was a little younger in those films. I love this town. I love our high school. I love all these guys that run for York High School. And these guys do great things. And I want to, you're the movers and shakers of Elmhurst. You're the people that make our town so great. And our high school is just second to none. I speak all over America in high schools, and I go in those schools, and they're lousy compared to York High School. It's the way it is. So I'm proud to be here to tell you about these guys. Now think about this. They had a goal when we started. We went to our first meet down at Peoria and ran our regular guys. We used to take our JV team down there. 73 teams, over 600 runners, and we go down and get beat the very first meet of the year. And we were in third place. Oak Park was second, and a division class 2A was first, Belvedere North. So now we got to come back, and the season's now one meet down. We never lost a meet the rest of the year. And every week, the newspapers and the media, well, this team's going to kick York's, you know what, and this team's going to do that. And every week, a different guy stepped up and filled the void, and you never knew who was going to do it. But we never lost another meet. Now we go to the state meet, and every time we go to a state meet, I don't know what they say, it's a blind draw for what box you get. And there's 47 to 50 boxes, and right in box 20 is in the middle, and there's a line that goes all the way down to the first curve. The worst boxes are over here, because when you get down to the first curve, you got to get out by box 20. And it's like riding on a 2-lane highway. You're in the left lane, and you want to turn right, and there's cars in that lane, and they won't let you in. And every year, in the last 10 years, we've never been higher than 15. We won our sectional. All the teams that we beat, they got box 25, 38, 42. They just run down the outside, no problem. Driggs asked me on Friday, he said, are we going to take 1,001? Because we've done that 9 times and won. But I didn't want to do it because I thought we were that good. And I said, no, we don't have to do that. Just run a little faster. So Driggs then proceeds to, well, let me go back a minute. We won the conference meet, beat Oak Park. We beat Oak Park in a dual meet. We won the regional. We won the sectional. Now we're down to the state meet. Friday night, After Driggs told me we were going to take 1,001, then I started getting nightmares thinking, I wonder if we should have done that. Well, he listened to me. He ran the first quarter in 54 seconds. That's for a 3:36 mile. That's better than the world record. And he still got 2 3/4 miles to run. But he was the only guy on our team that got around the first turn. The other guys got down there, and nobody would let him in. So they're running in place for about 15 seconds till the whole group goes around, and then we come around. Now they pass me at the half mile, and I'm looking, there's Driggs in second place. And what the heck? And then here comes our pack, like 150, 155, 60, 180, and there's only 200 runners in the race. So I knew that we got stopped at the first turn. And they could have panicked, they could have quit, but they had this dream. After we got beat that first meet, their dream was to win our 27th state title. And that's hard to do because everybody in the state has a title. We're under that Notre Dame, York High School, and New York Yankees syndrome. They hate a winner. And so everybody wants to beat us. And that's their whole season if they can beat York. So it's not easy. You know, everybody thinks everybody passes out when we show up, but that doesn't happen. They all think they can beat us, okay? But they couldn't do it because these guys had that dream. And then here's the topper. We're worried that we even got a trophy because our group was so back, but we got up and we had 32, 33, 35, 40, 50. We had a pretty good pack. Then I get a call from Mr. Hedman, my assistant, who can't be here tonight because the water main broke and he's working. He says, you got to go down to the starting line. They're DQing my son, and they won't talk to me. You got to go down there. So I go down there. Already now, our pack got stuck at the first turn. I go down there, and this big fat guy comes down and tells me, hey, your guy Hedman's DQ'd. I said, now, wait a minute. Let's analyze this. What do you mean he's DQ'd? What did he do? He said he punched a guy. I said, well, now, wait a minute. Let's use common sense. We're trying to win the state title. He's one of our key guys. Why would he stop in the middle of the race and punch a guy? I said, that's not logical, is it? I said, that means that guy was beating the heck out of him for about a half mile, and he got fed up with it. The judge said, well, you're probably right, but I only saw your guy slug him. I didn't see that guy, so throw him out. Now we thought we're not even going to get a trophy. And by the grace of God, we won by 2 points. Wow. Those guys realized their life dream. And the things that they do for this town and our school and for you are beyond belief. The sacrifices that they make, people just don't get it. They think you just show up and win a meet. These guys run 1,000 miles in the summer. They run 1,200 miles during the season. They get up at 5 o'clock to be at York at 6, where we open the door and they can come in and lift weights and go out and run every morning, Monday through Friday. Okay? They run on Sunday. They run on Saturday afternoon if we practice in the morning. We got 10 or 12, 14 meets that we run. They got to be ready. They have to go to bed at night. They can't go to any beer parties. They got to just be in bed, resting, and getting ready. And they make that choice. And I want to tell you just a couple quick things. The mayor gets us a bus and takes us down to the state legislature about a week ago. I think it was on a Tuesday, Pete. Took the mayor 24 hours to get the bus, get everything lined up, get the money for all our heavy eaters that we have. Good thing you weren't there, Cos, because you wouldn't have had much left when they got to the... Hair Off is the heaviest eater I've ever had in 55 years of coaching. A shorthand for Hair Off right there. And we got this big bus, and we drive down, and I don't know if you've ever been to the legislature, but everybody's making a deal. Everybody's got a cell phone, and I just sit there. I'm awed by all that. But Pete set all this up. We get down there a little early, so he takes us to the Hilton, and we have a all-you-can-eat. I mean, Haroff had about 6 helpings, all right? But everybody's in their suit and tie. And the guys were just wonderful. We get walking out, and the maitre d' was a lady about 30 years old. She grabbed me and she said, listen, I want to tell you something. I've never seen anything like this. The way these guys dress, the way they act, very unusual. That's really credit to your town, okay? Next thing that happens, when we go into the, I mean, you know all the controversy on TV now about the pets and the wands and all that, and I got a hip operation here, so the buzzer goes off. They're always doing this to me, take your shoes off, and You know what I mean? They're doing that, and we're in line, and most of the people there look like derelicts. And here's all our guys, suit and tie, sharp, nobody screwing around, unbelievable. Now, the buzzer goes off, I got to go over here, they're frisking me and doing all that. When I come back, the guard says to me, I've never seen anything like this. I've been here 30 years. He said, you guys look sharp. He said, they're quiet, they're polite. So on the bus trip back home, I said, you know what, guys? You didn't run one step today. Had nothing to do with running. You didn't beat anybody. But the things that you did for our town and our school, just by being who you are and being good citizens, amazing. So they do so much for us. And for us to win number 27, we hadn't won now in 3 years. And that's a disaster for York. Second, third, it's like 3 funerals. And now this year, we got back. We're back on top. The magic is back. We got a lot of sophomores that'll be juniors next year. We got 2 juniors that'll be seniors next year. And we got 1 freshman who's not here tonight. But the future is bright. But I just want you to know a little bit. And our program is based on 4 things. And number 1 is it's just so important that you got to believe in the program. Okay? We have tender, loving care every day at practice. We work very hard. And then last but not least, we really have Marine Corps discipline. They got to be on time. They got to be there. They got to be gentlemen. And we have a saying about our team, it's nice to be great, but it's far greater to be nice. And they know how to say thank you. They know how to say you're welcome. And there's loyalty there. That's a lost word in our society, Tom. Lost word. These guys are so loyal to me and our school and our town. I'm choking up when I talk about it. But I don't have my list, and I'm 81. I lose my train of thought here. But Pete's going to read off the names of the guys. But I will say just a couple of things. Jack Driggs, our number 1 runner, was second in the state. He won the regional, he won the sectional, he won the conference. But the Mad Russian from Sandburg beat him in the state meet, but he's second. He's one of the top 4 distance runners of all time in our high school. I think Marcus O'Sullivan was coming to your house today from Villanova. Did he show up? Where's Riggsy? Oh, tomorrow? I thought he might cancel the trip. I wasn't sure. But he's got all over the country. They want him. And the thing about him, he's like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was a great athlete, but he made all the other guys on the team better. And that's how he is. He's a team guy. And now he's got track and field, and I believe you might be Donald Sage is the 5th runner of all time in America for the mile, 4 guys under 4 minutes, and he is at 4 minutes and 2/10. And I think Jack Driggs is going to come close to that. So, Mayor, I've got him on right now. Jack, come on up here and stand right up here, okay? Oh. I'm going to try to take my top 7 if I can remember what I'm doing. Where's Gordon? Hey. Where's my warrior? Ex-hockey player, now runner. Hey, Gordon, come on up there. One of my top 7. Let me have you on the mic so we get you on TV. Okay. There we go. Got to be on the mic. All right. Failed again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The next guys are sophomores. And I think they're 2 of the best sophomores in York history. Just unbelievable, steady, consistent, good team guys, and everything is by the book. All right, let's get Alex Memlitz up here. Mims. last but certainly not least of the top 7. When the season started, I thought he'd be like number 25, and the guy is amazing. Scott Milling, come on up here.
All righty.
Mayor's going to take charge now.
Can I ask for Eric
Globke.
Globke? Thank you, Coach. Congratulations, Eric. And Henry Benson. Ivan Fabry. Evan. Thanks, Evan. Stand corrected. Mike Kirby. Arlos Vega. Vega? There we go. Pat Crowley. Chris May. Here we go. Congratulations. Absolutely. There you go. Nate Rose, or Mraz? Not here. Okay. Short hand for Nate. Jeremy here. Bill Karstedt. Max Harold. Max here. H. Weiger. AJ Weiger.
Where's AJ?
All right, that's it?
That's it.
Okay. Real quick here. Proclamation for the coach. Come on over here, Coach. Everybody's got a copy of this, too, so you can frame those for your keepsakes. And again, Newton always had a saying, it's a forever moment, and how sweet it is. And you got two things happening here. Both of those are exactly something you'll never forget, you know. And I never got a medal. And I wasn't one of Joe's best guys, but he treated me like I was the best guy. And that's I think, what's great about Coach. It's one team, and he treats the number 1 guy just like he treats the number 30 guy. So God bless. All right, whereas the York Community High School cross-country team has again demonstrated its ability, courage, and team effort under tough competitive conditions, and whereas the long green line stands for excellence in cross-country competition, unexcelled in the state of Illinois, with York Community High School winning more trophies than any other school in varsity sports. And whereas the team won the Lake Park Regional Championship, won the Niles West Sectional Championship, won the West Suburban Conference Championship, and won the Illinois Class 3A State Championship, and recently won the Nike 6A Regional Championship, qualifying York as one of the top teams in the country. And whereas York Community High School has again demonstrated that boys cross-country program is outstanding by winning 27, count it, 27 cross-country titles, breaking their own state and national record. Whereas these young men represent the finest quality and dedication of youth willing to work hard to succeed, thereby bringing pride and prestige to the city of Elmhurst and to York Community High School. And therefore, therefore, I, Peter P.D.C. Andy III, Mayor of the City of Elmhurst, do hereby proclaim December 6, 2010 as York Community High School Boys Cross Country Day in honor of York Community High School Boys Cross Country team for the accomplishments of this team and for their outstanding performances in 2010. God bless everybody. Stay right up here. Stay right up here.
I see 3 guys out there from my entourage. Those are the guys that support me and help me coach and tell me what I'm doing right and wrong. Jim Cosgrove, just stand up. Tom Arnold and Taps Gallagher, please stand. How about a nice hand for these three guys? Woo!
Okay, guys, I want you to stand up for 1 second. We know, because of the crowd, I'm actually going to invite the councilman, the alderman, to come down and shake your hands. If the alderman be willing to come down and come to the front to shake the 2010 27 state title York of Elmhurst boys cross country team. We appreciate all you've done for our community. Again, this moment you'll never forget. I mean, you know, and these leadership abilities that you're acquiring here at York by this man right here who taught me will allow you to do amazing things, whether it's on the track, whether it's on the field, or whether it's in life. God bless. Let's shake.
Congratulations. Got your
What medal was that? From when you were...
No.
This is their medal.
I want to tell you what he was in. I don't know if he had broken 10 at that point.
Years.
We're amazed at year 40. I do. I was a boy. That was the time. I was so with waste management.
I was a girl.
No, hey, you.
Way too much.
Type stuff.
Wow.
I can't in my car.
There's no reason.
Ladies and gentlemen, one last round of applause for York of Elmhurst. Great job, Coach. God bless. How sweet it is. 81 and young. All right. As the room clears, is there any number 5 on the agenda? Any written communications and/or petitions from the public? Anybody has any written communications and/or petitions from the public? Hearing none. If there is, please stand and present those to Clerk Spencer. Thank you, Mr. Arnold, too, for the videos and making that happen, and for your son doing a great job with that movie as well.
Tell Coach we'll see you next year.
And Coach, we'll see you next year for number 28. All right. I will now go on to item number 6. And Clerk Spencer, has anyone signed up for public forum today?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have 6 people who have signed in. We'll start with John Robiletti, 625 West Gladys.
All righty. And everybody knows 3 minutes, and we'll let you speak regarding any Elmhurst issue. Mr. Robiletti.
John Robiletti, 625 Gladys.
since Mr. Hipskin said it was only $275 a month for this real estate, in the paper they said that the total amount in the 2 years is 7.37. Is that $33 a year? Is that just for the library and the pension funds, or does the 4.95 go on top of the real estate taxes that we got raised last year on? And what you people should do is when you decide on that amount of taxes, you ought to let the aldermen know, and maybe they can have a town hall meeting to tell the people what's going on, instead of being gutless and not making it 5 and let there be a referendum. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rebeletti.
Next, we have Gilbert R. Fisher, 586 North Van Auken.
Gilbert R. Fisher, 586 North Van Auken. Good evening. More taxes. You want more money from me. I have no more money for you. In 2009, on my property taxes, I paid the city of Elmhurst $70.07. 2010, on my property taxes, I paid you $197.44. Yet you need more money. My gas bill last month, $43.88. In there is an 80-cent tax going to you. My ComEd bill, $45.74. In there is a tax to Elmhurst of $1.69. My telephone bill, $20.58. In that is a charge, a tax to the city of Elmhurst of 99 cents. How much money do you need? This is outrageous. We all need to watch what we're doing with our money. I worked 10 years, my wife worked 10 years to save money to buy our first house. What's going on with the values now? Pinch your pennies, cut my taxes, and don't raise them. One other thing. Today in the mail, I had addressed to me postage in a foreign language. Why, in the heartland of America, do I get mail addressed to me in a foreign language? What's going on in our country? Let's keep the old-time values of Amherst alive and well. Please lower our taxes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Claude Pagash, 566 North, West Gladys.
My name is Claude Pagash. I live at 566 West Gladys. In my hand here is the Treasurer's financial report for Elmhurst. I spent some time looking at this, and there's a curious factor about this. Somewhere along the line, this council voted for a miscellaneous income tax. It shows up in a complete breakdown under each unit. Having been a little curious about this miscellaneous income, I asked a few of the aldermen when they voted on it. They couldn't come up with an answer. But gentlemen, it comes to $2.7 million. Be interesting to see what miscellaneous income is. In the last meeting, we got a tax increase, and the aldermen were kind enough to include the rebate. Well, according to the local paper, out of all the households in the city of Elmhurst, was kind enough to rebate 18 families. And if you really read the parameters of what it takes to get a rebate from the city, I would suggest you put them on your budget committee, because they can really stretch a dollar. really can. One other thing, I would appreciate in the future that when an alderman asks a question, we don't talk about vegetables or oranges or watermelons. They're serious questions. And the information they're asking is because they don't understand. I don't understand about miscellaneous income. They don't understand about a lot of things. But in a couple weeks, you are going to be discussing a new budget. And if they don't understand, I'll be here next year, and you'll be talking about another tax increase. So let the alderman's questions be answered. We're not running a supermarket. We're not running a vegetable stand. I voted for them. They represent me. When they ask a question, it's not because they just want to run off at the lip. They need an answer. And I would appreciate in the future, so that I can be informed also, that their questions are relevant. I don't want to keep on paying. I've said it last year and I'll say it this year. But if this Treasury report has any validity, you guys got $2.7 million you got from somewhere. And I can't find out how. Must be little packages of money left at the front door. Miscellaneous income?
Claude, I'll give you about another 10 seconds to wrap it up. If you could wrap it up, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good.
Let's find out what miscellaneous income is.
Thank you.
Next, Todd Benson.
EF Todd Benson, 391 River Glen, Elmhurst, Illinois. Good evening, Your Honor, and elected officials and our managers. You know, it's kind of a sad day. This past September 11th, I was reminded again of the horrific occurrence in New York City and Washington and in Pennsylvania. I'm proud, most proud of an effort that was put together by community members, business owners, and fostered by our park district in the city, where Elmhurst Remembers was built on Spring Road at the Prairie Path. This past September, I noticed that there were events across the country. There were events in the Chicagoland area reminding America of that day and remembering it. I know next year will be the 10th anniversary of that unfortunate occurrence. I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Grotsky. The Park District of Elmhurst gave the land for the memorial and allowed it to be built after it was built by public donation. It was given back to the Park District, so they are in effect the shepherd of the property. I asked whether we might do something for that event. Mr. Grotsky suggested that the Spring Road Business Association, which was going to meet the next morning, would be if they'd be interested in promoting and organizing it, he'd be more than glad to allow and have a great event or work with the commissioners at the Park District. At that meeting, the Spring Road Association agreed to put a steering committee together. In fact, one of your fellow aldermen was there, Mr. Healy, myself, and Frank Catalano Sr. have all agreed to pitch in to start a steering committee. We look forward to working with you as our elected officials, with the Chamber of Commerce and all the rest of anyone else here in Elmhurst that wants to get behind this. But please, if you would, put down on your calendar Sunday, September 11th. We'll have our our congressman, or hopefully a senator, whomever would like to come, some local community members, some local community residents speak and share their thoughts and have a nice Elmhurst Remembers afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine Street.
Kathleen Sullivan, 133 Pine Street. I wanted to thank Mayor DeCiani and City Manager Borchardt for taking my task force question very seriously with regards to pursuing conflict of interest statements for the selection committee. Ethics is something that's very important to me given my profession as a CPA, and a controller of a company. I rely on all my employees to be ethical, and I appreciate very much that you guys took that seriously and that you guys are going to do that, and that you had Alderman Kennedy come back and let me know what you guys had done, and so I really appreciate that and wanted to thank you for that. I did have one little brief comment about the last city council meeting. A lot of times you guys referred to the people sitting out here also as the audience, and well, I guess we're an audience while we're seated here. We're your taxpayers, we're your constituents, we're your citizens, we're your residents, but really we're not here just for that. We're here participating in our city governments as well, so thank you.
Thank you.
Darlene Heslop, 200 North Michigan, number 227.
At the last city council meeting, the council made attempts to justify increasing our taxes yet again. The taxpayers of Elmhurst are intelligent people. Do you really think that they believe that in order to protect home values, it was necessary to raise taxes? What about the 10% foreclosure rate? Doesn't this have something to do with it? What about the direct correlation between an increase in taxes and a decrease in new development, which everyone from the county to the state to the federal government is trying to change? As for macroeconomics, try underemployment, salary freezes, and no cost of living increases, all of which can be just as devastating as unemployment. The federal government, at the present time, is trying to keep in place tax initiatives that would allow for taxpayers to keep more in their own pocket with the hope that will stimulate spending and boost the economy. That cannot happen if in our own microeconomy, the city of Elmhurst is instead taking away that discretionary savings that should be aiding in our macroeconomic recovery. It does matter what pocket you take that bill out of to pay for Alderman York's lunch, Chairman Hipskind. According to a report posted on the Trib Local website today, poverty has increased 62% in the last 8 years here in Elmhurst, with unemployment increasing 38%. I would be curious to know how underemployment and salary freezes are also affecting residents. While it is admirable that the Susan Rose incremental tax increase rebate has been renewed for yet another year, it appears to serve only a very tiny number of residents, many of whom already receive rebates from the city under other existing programs. Residents know that it is time for this continual tax and spending to end. It is my hope that with the hiring of a new city manager, one who is capable of thinking as well as operating outside of the box, this indeed happens. I agree with Alderman Morley. We need to change the system and change the way of thinking. The taxpayers of this city are smarter than you appear to have given them credit for. Thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes those who have signed in tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Clerk Spencer. On to item number 7, which is our consent agenda. Is there anyone that would like to have a question, maybe have a question, might want to vote no, on any particular item on the consent agenda? If there is, please indicate that at this time. Anybody? Okay. At this time, I ask for a motion and a second to approve the contents of the consent agenda in its entirety. Alderman Morley, seconded by Alderman Rose. And Clerk Spencer, if you can please call the roll.
Morley.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 nays.
13 ayes, 0 nays. The consent agenda passes in its entirety. And on to item number 8, reports and recommendations of appointed and elected officials. First item is a report from myself. Wanted to indicate to everyone got the FEMA numbers for DuPage County. Elmhurst received more money than any municipality in DuPage County. According to the Tribune, we were at $2.1 million in federal FEMA relief to our residents. The city reimbursement was 0. Nobody qualified for reimbursement there, but in comparison to Lombard and Addison, they received around $930,000 and $620,000 respectively. Cook County received the majority of the dollars, with nearby communities to our east, probably the largest, seeing those Westchester, Hillside, Berkeley, get into Cook County. So I do appreciate our local county, state, and federal officials. Senator Durbin, who came out to Elmhurst personally and took his time and walked the streets with me. Our governor, our local senators, our local legislators, Senator Cronin, Senator Pankow, Representative Rebeletti, Representative Biggins, and for all their efforts, along with the county folks, to make that happen. So, other items. Actually, I'll hold some of these off for announcements. That's pretty much it for me. So I wanted to bring everybody updated on that effort. City Manager Borchert, on to item number 2, progress of Stormwater Comprehensive Plan.
Just a limited report this evening. The 4 public ed programs prepared by the city's consultant Burke have been completed. They're on the city website. The city has been working with Commonwealth Edison for some time, and we have confirmed that Commonwealth Edison will be at our next Committee of the Whole meeting, which will be next week, Monday, committee meeting night. We'll start at 7 o'clock on a Committee of the Whole to allow the Commonwealth Edison PowerPoint presentation on their evaluation of the City of Elmhurst's ComEd distribution system and its performance in storms and in regular non-storm weather. The effort of the Technical Review Committee is ongoing. A meeting has been scheduled for this week, Friday, for that group to meet with the 4 finalists in the run for and expressing interest in being the city's consultant on the stormwater master plan redevelopment. That group will be whittling down the 4 to eventually 1 firm, and then working with the city council with terms and conditions to then negotiate with that firm for the consulting services to support the city's review of if it's updates on storm and sanitary systems involving rainwater and flooding. No other report at this time. If there's questions from the council on that. Again, there'll be a committee of the whole meeting next week, Monday at 7 for the PowerPoint on ComEd support electrical services.
Very good. And next on the agenda, and before I go to that, I also wanted to mention, we were talking about stormwater. Also, I think the kind of the shocking thing, but yes, not so shocking, when we heard we had a 500-year event, and I forgot what the other one was, but it was like way over a 100-year event. The FEMA effort was the largest disaster assistance package for individuals in the state history. Roughly $320 million came to Illinois in federal FEMA money. So I think it kind of, we talked about the numbers. We talked about the Eisenhower flooding for the first time and closing. The only other time it was closed was 1967 in a snowstorm. I was one, and many of the aldermen up here were not too far behind me there. And so so we also all understand the magnitude of what we had happen to us. But nonetheless, we're still going to do whatever we can to help. I wish I could have brought home more millions than we brought home, but we did the best we could with what we had, and many of the folks out there didn't think this FEMA effort would actually happen. So I am thankful to all of the elected officials that lobbied on my behalf, in behalf of all of our residents, so as well as staff. On to item number C, letter C, I should say. City of Elmhurst Addison LLC Partnership. City Manager Borchert.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We've got a short PowerPoint that we will post after this evening on the city's website under Economic Development. I've got a PowerPoint prepared to go through an update for the City Council and community relative to the current agreement contract the city has with the Addison LLC group for improvements in the Central Business District. This is on the foundation of the tax increment financing district of the Central Business District, which allowed for a redevelopment plan and project that was first implemented and identified in 1986. The city had to go through a number of conditions which were identified and shown as existing in the central business district. Just take a little time to go back to allow us to understand how do we get to where we are today. And prior to 1986, the central business district was in a far different situation and needed to be improved upon with the city being the lead agency taking that lead. A number of goals were identified to begin the process to redevelop the downtown, and tools available to the city as a result of implementing the tax increment financing district were put into play and have been used on a number of projects over the years to create a significant turnaround in the makeup of the central business district. Coincidentally, next Monday, prior to the committee of the whole meeting, the city will be meeting with the 3 joint review boards. Each TIF district has a joint review board. Those joint review boards will be meeting next Monday to review the work completed within each TIF district within the previous fiscal year. In the central business district, which was TIF 1 from 1986, an overlaying photograph of the central business district compared to 2008, a number of projects have been completed, again, consistent with the original goal, the original objective of turning around the central business district. TIFs are, by state law, 23 years in duration. The 23 years is to allow for startup and planning and organizing and goal setting that takes from 0 to 3 years, and then a 20-year period typically used for the issuance and the paying off of general obligation bonds that are very often needed to help finance the initiatives within the TIF district. City of Elmhurst was able to identify opportunities that extended beyond the 23 years and identified then with School District 205, the largest recipient of property tax dollars in the city of Elmhurst, a agreement with School District 205 wherein they consented to an extension of the TIF, which allowed the city to go to the General Assembly of the state of Illinois and actually get General Assembly approval of a 12-year extension of the TIF. That's been completed, which allows for the TIF district, which would have otherwise ended in 2009, to be ongoing for 12 more years. That TIF extension provided that the city would make whole the school district beyond the 23 years, and the school district would allow the city to extend the TIF and have essentially 12 years worth of additional TIF work where a project or a series of projects could be incented with city sponsorship, allow for then significant private side investments to go into the area that pays more taxes. Those taxes wouldn't be paid but for the project, but for the city's incentives and sponsorship, there wouldn't be the project. So it really is a bit of a pulling one up by your bootstraps. The city has released those projects that have resulted in properties that have been improved upon to essentially their highest and best use. 3 releases have been completed over the years that result in the TIF district now being significantly less than what it could have been, but on the very positive side, resulting in serious equalized assessed value or property tax generating capabilities being developed from the TIF that are supporting the taxing districts that levy taxes in the city of Elmhurst, primarily being the school district, park district, library, city, also the College of DuPage, the townships, everybody that's on a tax bill gets the released EAV. You can see that the original boundaries of the TIF district have been reduced with the releases such that there's more released EAV now than what remains in the EAV or in the TIF district. And as an example, the 2009 tax levy on the released properties results in over $2.2 million of taxes being collected by all of the taxing districts. The city, with the TIF increment of what remains in the TIF, collected $1.7 million. So TIFs are good. TIFs are clearly good. This illustrates the very, very significant positive economic development results of a TIF district that results in private side investments, creating then new equalized assessed value that pays taxes. When that parcel is released from the TIF, it creates opportunity for all the other taxing districts to take advantage of that by either collecting that tax and thereby reducing the tax for other property taxpayers, which is what the city of Elmhurst does. The city of Elmhurst taxes a specific dollar amount. So if there's more dollars being paid because of new growth, prior to the new growth, taxpayers have to pay less. That's how the city levies its tax. The school district will tax a amount of money that usually goes beyond their tax capped ability. They therefore will collect what they can collect from everybody and create the new tax dollars to add to a higher dollar amount that they're able to collect. Either way, it creates opportunity for the community that it wouldn't otherwise have. Elmhurst has used as its guide the comprehensive plan, completed a complete overview and revision to this downtown plan as the first phase of its updates of the comprehensive plan, and concentrated on the central business district. The whole comprehensive plan is on the city website. Don't mean to go through that tonight. It does focus on the entire central business district and then does focus on areas. Highlighted here is the Addison Avenue corridor, which identifies a number of goals and opportunities, underperforming private side properties that aren't developed to their highest and best use, therefore targets for development and opportunity. Those details you could review at your leisure on the comp plan, again in the city's economic development pages of the city website. That's the foundation really for the city of Elmhurst and on its economic development initiatives relative to the central business district, which led to the two current projects which the city is working on with private side partners. The Hahn Street project, which is I think truly still the highest and best possible project for that area of the central business district, but the major component of that project is condominiums, and that market, that private side market is very, very slow and in a downturn, and until that market turns around, that project is waiting for the proper timing to, again, to be implemented. The other project is the Addison corridor project. Two phases have been identified. The first phase was the creation of a parking structure where the private side was able to purchase the property, entered into then a development agreement with the city. The city developed that parking deck that's now finished. Phase two is the property identified around the east side of Addison on property referred to as the Thorne Medical Building site and the Athar site. Phase one is now completed. Reports are that it's doing what it was designed to do, attractive, aesthetic, served on in the neighborhood, which is on the line between the central business district and the residential neighborhood, separates on a strong fashion now that boundary between the central business district, the residential neighborhood. Larch Avenue is now cul-de-saced off we're monitoring and watching the traffic on the street and in the alleys to manage that going forward so that everything works as it's intended to serve the central business district and also support the residential neighborhood. The parking added to the city's inventory is with the approval of the city council on a comprehensive revised layout of the available parking in the central business district is working well, where shoppers have now more access to shopper parking, and the employees of the central business district that need places to park all day have more appropriately located parking to serve them, and commuters along the railroad tracks have as well significantly more parking to make their commute to their places of employment more appropriate. So it's working well. Phase 2 is a development on the east side of the street on those two properties, and our private side partner, the Addison LLC Group, Arco Murray, NAI Hiffman, and DevCom Realty have been doing their private side management of the Thorn site and been doing review of and studying options, alternatives as to what could be developed in the mixed-use project. The original contract agreement with the city and the private side provides a mixed-use structure on this site that contemplates retail on the alley and on Addison Street, parking behind it and parking above it. Addison LLC will now give us an update as to their review, their study of options and alternatives, which options and alternatives need to be vetted by the city of Elmhurst and at some point then approved by the city of Elmhurst, the city council, as to what options and alternatives would be appropriate. So, Mr. Daniger, my understanding is you're going to take the pointer. Do you want?
Thank you.
I guess you could. We need to get you at a microphone, which you're at. You could use that microphone or this podium, whichever is more comfortable for you. If you want to use a podium.
Sure. Okay. Laser. Thank you very much. My name's Brad Daniger. I'm with Arco Murray National Construction Company.
David Hollins with DevCom Realty Investments.
Dan Hiffman, NEI Hiffman Commercial Real Estate Services.
It's nice to be in front of you again. It's been a while since we've seen you in the first phase, and as Tom said, I think now's about the time to start considering what our options are on the Thorn property. We have tonight a couple different options to consider. The first option is more directly in line with the original development agreement, which would basically consist of ground floor retail and parking above. I think many people are interested and see a great opportunity for Class A retail, as well as the need and opportunity to provide additional parking to drive future development in the city of Elmhurst. So in this plan, we're essentially looking at a structure where the ground floor retail provides roughly 20,000 feet, and then we have parking at the 15-foot, 25-foot, 35 feet, and 45-foot elevation mark. So it'll be similar in height to the project just completed. This is a rough layout as far as how the garage and retail would potentially work. I've got a laser to the screen on the right here. So the retail would basically, as the city manager indicated, run along Addison here, as well as along the Schiller Parkway here. Access would come off of 2nd Street, down the alley, and then up a speed ramp here. provide all the required handicap parking. And then the floors above, basically 4 floors above, would provide looped parking like a donut, and then a ramp up to each additional level. In total, we'd be looking at roughly 458 parking spots. Pardon me, 456 parking spots, and a total retail square footage of 20,500 square feet. As many of you may recall from our meetings several months ago, the exact location of the garage and retail on the site needs to be determined. However, it looks like at this point, the best plan would be to back the garage up tight to the east property line, which would result in the western edge of the garage to extend anywhere between 4 to 8 feet past the west property line, depending on the final design of the facility. So in summary, this option provides a building height of 45 feet, 456 stalls, each stall a minimum of 8 foot 6 inches wide. The parking on the ramps would provide roughly 144 cars on the ramps, and the ramps would be parked at 6.2%, which is similar to the garage recently constructed. And then the retail square footage comprises of roughly 10% of the overall structure, or 20,562 feet. While we think that's a good option, we think the council should strongly consider another option, and that's adding an additional element to the mixed-use project of office. Under this proposed design, we'd look at ground floor retail, 2 stories of office, and then parking above. Now we have options to consider. Do you go to 45 feet? Do you go to 55 feet, 65 feet? How far do you go? And those are things that we're going to weigh further in the weeks ahead. But this garage would work very similar. You'd have the ground floor retail in this area, handicap parking. You'd have a speed ramp up to the 2nd floor. The access would be the same off of 2nd Street. And then when you get to the 2nd floor, you have office all along the Addison Street. So you'd come up the ramp, and then you'd have nice flat parking right adjacent to the office, which will really help with the leasing of the office. Come up a ramp again. You'll have a 2nd story of office. And eventually, you'll get to the 45-foot mark where you have a full deck of parking. And then this deck could be repeated at 45 feet, 55 feet, 65 feet. In the end, if you maximize the site and provide the flexibility, maximizing the parking for this development as well as future development within the city, you're looking at a building height of roughly 65 feet, 638 parking stalls. The ramp slope is 7.1%, still well within the limits. We'd only be parking 110 spots on the slopes, and the balance would be all on flat parking, which is highly desirable. The retail square footage is 21,000 feet, office 30,000 feet, of the total 280,000 feet. So where does that leave us? Our next steps really are to work with the City of Elmhurst and the Addison Corridor LLC to collaborate and finalize the size and scope of this project. Instrumental in those steps are to proceed with design. Finalizing conceptual design is anticipated to take 1 to 2 months. Permit documents will take 2 to 3 months. And then depending on the options in which the council would like to pursue, there may be some planning and zoning variances required which could take in the neighborhood of 4 to 6 months.
Thank you, Mr. Daniger and Addison LLC. Again, from a city staff perspective, we wanted to provide an update. There's been almost a year's gone by since we've been talking about second phase. We've been working very hard, public side and private side, on the development of the Larch at First parking structure. And phase 2 is beginning to look like the opportunity that it is, and decisions need to be made. We will be working with certainly our private side partners and with the city council to further vet, if you will, the pros and the cons of the various options that are available. I would say again, as we look back on it, previous public-private ventures, they have all been, because of careful front-end planning, worked well, providing a benefit economically and a benefit for the viability of Central Business District, which is what, again, this second phase of development is intended to do. Bring retail to that Addison corridor, potentially office to that Addison corridor, and support parking. Support parking to remind us all, not just to provide parking for the project that's anticipated to need parking, the retail space and the office space, but to begin to replace the surface parking that the city currently uses and enjoys on the west side of Addison, nearly directly across the street from the project site. That's not highest and best use in a commercial district, certainly not a commercial district that's transit-oriented with a connection to Chicago with the Metro. That surface parking deserves to be, again, when the market is right, replaced with another mixed-use project. And the Addison deck project contemplated would provide for the replacement of that surface parking to allow that Addison Street site to become part of a future economic development project. So there's a lot of options and alternatives that become viable for the Elmhurst community. We look forward to discussing that with the City Council. It's timely that we're doing this tonight. We'll be working on our next fiscal year budget over the next several months, and all of this is part of, again, that very important annual planning endeavor that the community and City Council participate in together with city staff. So, Mr. Mayor, we're complete, but we would, between the public side, city staff, and our private side partner, take any questions from the council.
Very good. Before I open it up, I just want to thank you gentlemen, for the terrific job on First Street. It's a beautiful facility. It looks like a condo building for crying out loud. It definitely fit the neighborhood well. You work with the residents well. You listen to them. They were heard. And we've got a facility that's utilized already. And I drove by the deck the other day. It was virtually full. So, and it looks great. And it came out on time and under budget, and that's even better. So we appreciate that, and look forward to exploring the Addison deck with you as well, and seeing these options is nice. One thing I have a question on, with the office and the retail, those would be taxable as far as they would be on the tax rolls and would be bringing in revenue, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The second option proposed, 65 feet, is that equivalent to a 5-story building, 6-story building, 7-story building? Approximately, what is that equivalent to?
That's equivalent to about a 5-story building.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion or question? Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, considering that the current environment that we have, where we're having a difficult time with like the Han Street project and things like that, what gives you the feeling that, I mean, I think this project is a good project, but what gives you the feeling that right now still is a good time for you to move forward with this?
Well, frankly, we haven't, it's Dave Hollingsworth, Defcon Realty. We haven't waited to test the waters with potential tenant interest, so we're out there actually marketing now. We have pretty, I'd say, substantial interest from some major players that we feel comfortable enough to move forward with the project.
Alderman Rose, and I'll go back to Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, I have a similar question. Has that interest been for office, for retail? I mean, I think the major difference with the Hahn Street project is so much of that is residential, or there, a significant amount would be thought. Curious what your sense is of that.
Well, frankly, the office component has just come up relatively recently. We've been focused on retail since the get-go, so all of our emphasis in marketing and discussions has centered on retail. So that's where we have our you know, the most, you know, our information that we have is mostly the feedback from the retailers. And, you know, we have an idea of the kind of retailer that we want there right now to start off the initiative on Addison Street, and the people that we want are still in the market. They're still doing deals. As a matter of fact, I can't go into any greater detail, but we are about to enter into negotiations with one of them for a substantial chunk of the space. As far as office goes, we've just started asking questions about that. We have met with a potential user for some of the space. We have others that we want to go talk to, but it's a little bit too early to get a sense of that. But frankly, we're pretty confident that that we can attract people to a very, very attractive downtown, which is what we're not surprised about, but we're happy to find out is that a lot of people, you know, that want to live and work in downtown Elmhurst. So we're very confident.
Alderman Gutenkopf.
Well, you sort of started to get at the answer to my question, which is very basic. Why would you change the original concept from retail and parking to retail, office, and parking? Why add office? What prompted you to do that?
Well, in making a deal like this work, you have to understand the big picture, and the strategy really is, how do you put together a complete development plan that offers all of the components that it needs to offer for success for downtown Elmhurst? And one of the things that downtown Elmhurst could really use to help increase the traffic in stores, increase the traffic in restaurants, is daytime population. And the best way to do that is by attracting office users to downtown. And so that's really part of our strategy. So initially, we were dealing with what we could deal with, and that was a height limit of 45 feet and putting the retail in, but no office, because that eats away at parking. But now, if we can go up higher, we can start to add that component that downtown Elmhurst needs, and it's going to continue to need to be successful.
Alderman Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Under option one, the original option, it was 45 feet tall, and we got 556 spots, 456 spots. When you just presented option two, you said we can stop at 45 feet, 55 feet, or 65 feet. My question is, and I know some of the parking will get eaten up by the office space, but if we did stop at 45 feet, how many parking spots is that? How many parking spots at 55? How many parking spots at 65?
I'm going off memory here, but I think it's in the neighborhood, if we stopped at 45 feet, it would be in the neighborhood of 370 spots or so. And then each subsequent level and ramp is the equivalent of roughly 130 spots.
Great, thanks.
May I comment a little bit further on that, though? One thing that I think the council will find out as we move forward with examining this is that the cost effectiveness of the deck increases radically in a cost per stall basis by going to 65 feet. You get a lot of extra stalls for a lot less money per stall. So we'll show you that in the future.
Economy of space.
Very good. Alderman Wager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My memory escapes me. What's the height of the large deck, the Phase 1 deck?
It's 45 feet.
That's 45.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Alderman Pezza.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple of questions. Are you considering this to be medical office, or what kind of office?
Well, we're not targeting we are targeting some specific users, but frankly, whatever type of interest we get is the kind of office it's going to be. But it's probably either going to be medical or professional, but it's going to be upscale office.
So basically what we have now and is going to be torn down is medical. So that's going to be torn down to be replaced with more medical.
Potentially. Potentially. That's a great use in
replacing
downtown.
it with
Brings
what's
a lot
there.
of people downtown.
And then, I guess the 52,000 square feet of potential office space, that's obviously private use. Would that be something you would then own? That's
Yeah,
52,000 square feet?
It's 30,000 square feet of office, 20,000 square feet of retail.
Oh, I thought it said 51,774 on your presentation.
It's total.
That was total.
Yeah, that's
I thought it
gross.
was two.
If I may, the current agreement between the city and the developers are that the spaces to be created, if they're public parking spots, the city takes over the public spots, owns it, operates, maintains them. The private spots that become property tax generating would be then purchased. We've got an agreement on the retail formula. We don't have an agreement on the office because there's not been an agreement as to there being an office component. But both the retail and the office presumably would be purchased by the city's private side partner, who would further develop the specifics of them, certainly in a fashion according to the agreement that the city would enter into with them, but following the city's goals, objectives for the TIF, the downtown, and our zoning codes, et cetera. They would be property tax generating, operated by the private side, maintained by the private side, but they would need to buy it from the city.
That was the second part of my question, thanks.
Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mine is just a quick question in regards to the cost of the parking deck, but actually cost of the parking spaces. You mentioned that it would obviously be more beneficial to build more, therefore the cost per space is cheaper or more economical. Do you have a rough estimate if we stuck at 45 feet, 55, and went up to 65, what that cost per space would be?
While he's going back over his numbers, either by recollection or by note, the plan in the agreement that the city already enjoys with the private side provides that Arco Murray's design group does the design, but then it's bid. So we would be going for low qualified bid for the development work. Arco Murray builds decks and projects like this nationwide. They've got very good understanding of what those low bids should look like. So they will be estimates at this point that would be then turned into an actual contract based on low qualified bidders being reviewed and evaluated and awarded. But Mr. Daniger, general cost estimates?
Sure. I think the spots up to the 45-foot mark would be very similar in cost to what the Large Street deck was. There's a few more spots, but you have a greater volume with the office and the retail to offset. And then the spots from the 45 mark above, I think when we do the cost estimates, we'll find that the price per stall for the stalls at the 55 and 65-foot mark will run less than half of all of the half price compared to the price of the stall at the bottom 45 feet.
Can you give a rough estimate of a number? I mean, we're talking vague here. So at the, and I don't remember what large was, at the 45-foot level, would that be 10,000, 15,000, 20,000? Approximate, obviously.
I think, total cost per stall on the large deck, by the time you roll in the land cost and the demo cost and everything, is in the $29,000 range. So I would imagine the stalls, by the time you incorporate the land and the cost up to the 45-foot mark, the stalls to be in that range. And then for the stalls at 55 and 65 feet, I'd anticipate them to be in the $13,000 to $15,000 per stall range.
Thank you. Alderman Pezzo.
And which stalls would you be looking to buy? The lower ones or the higher ones? The cheaper ones or the more expensive ones?
The city buys all the parking, they buy all the private space.
Where would those be, the private spaces? The higher or the lower, I guess, is the question, in the deck?
Well, the parking is all city-owned?
Right.
But the actual space would be retail first floor, and then
Right.
your office space would be
But then,
The-
I thought I understood they
Second
also
and third.
wanted parking spaces in the deck for the office, is that correct?
Yeah, the
There
parking,
have to be spaces in the deck for the office use?
the parking in the deck would certainly be primary spaces for folks that would be using the office or using the retail space. But the public parking, all of the parking in the deck would be public parking that would be owned by the city. Again, reminding that the Elmhurst Central Business District zoning code has it that the city provides public parking for the central business district. It doesn't preclude a private property owner providing at their expense private property parking for their exclusive use, but the public parking is provided heretofore at least, and anticipated going forward by the community, and then the community runs it, operates it, and runs it the way the city wants to, allowing for different users of parking to use it during different times. As an example, the all-day parking is paid for now, but that all-day parking is provided evenings and weekends for free for shoppers. So maybe to go to Alderman Pez's question, the office space, or start with the retail space. The current agreement provides that the retail space will be purchased by the city's private site partner on a formula that's in the development agreement, where they pay for the proportional space that occupies compared to the total project, whatever that percentage is, they buy that as it relates to the land cost incurred by the city in acquiring the property. That gets multiplied by the percentage of the space that they use. That's the price. Then they invest at 100% their private side costs, the specifics, the details of what goes into that vanilla box. They buy the vanilla box at the price of the land based on that percentage of how much they're using of the cube that's being built, and 100% of the costs of developing that space. We would need to negotiate the office space. We don't have an agreement as to the details of any office space yet. That would need to be, the terms of that would need to be vetted, discussed, and then negotiated.
Alderman Rose.
I mean, I think conceptually, we're trying to simply begin to think, are we interested in the notion of office space or are we not? I mean, I think my understanding of the parking is conceptually, it would also be a lot like the Schiller deck. You'd have some designated, you would have some parking that is shopping parking. I mean, those are all issues I think that we would negotiate, but the core issue is, do we want to invest in office space where retail is the same? We're going to have that. Do we want office space? And what the office space will give us is more and cheaper parking. We would get more parking for the same price. What we pay for that, in essence, the city conceptually is a higher building. Is that what we want? And I think from a policy perspective, that's really where we should be focusing our efforts and thinking about it. I think we'll work out dollars and cents, but we ought to ask ourselves, do we want to negotiate a higher building? Will give us some office space and will give us more parking for the exact same amount of money we thought we were going to get less. I'll just say right now, conceptually, that I'd like to see the numbers. I'm going to see it as we move forward, but as an idea, I think that there's a lot of value for this, and I would not close the door on this right away and say, absolutely not. I think we ought to move forward on this and see what this is. I think this is actually a great idea, so.
Very good. Before I go to Alderman Gutenkopf, I just have one question. Just putting this in perspective, City Manager Borchard, or maybe this will be a question for Assistant City Manager Kopp. A new construction home has got a height limit of what, and versus the 45 limit height limit for our downtown. What's the difference roughly?
Residential is 35 feet.
So roughly, this is 10 feet higher than a home that we allow to build. So I think that kind of puts that in perspective, and we are landlocked, and I think this is in a position that really, I think we should consider it because there's not much residential around it.
It is in our central business district. Again, the dirt is a premium, so if we're in a position, I think, as Alderman Rose mentioned, definitely we should not look with blinders on, but look with all eyes peeled, because I think we've got an opportunity here that, and I appreciate the partners in giving us this enlightenment.
Yeah, there was, to be clear, there was no expectation from the city staff, nor do I believe from the private side partners, that there'd be any decisions at all made this evening, other than to vet the options and alternatives into greater detail as we go forward.
Very good. Alderman Gudenkauf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think one of the things that would help me understand the impact of the building height would be to see some renderings that impose a building of this size with a landscape of the adjacent properties, to understand some of the relationships, because I think talking about this building in isolation does it a disservice, and it would be helpful to see how this changes or how this affects the whole landscape or the whole streetscape along Addison at these different heights. Buildings have a relationship with each other, and this is an important component of what we want our downtown to look like. So I think that would be something that I'd really like to see.
It's a good point. It's a very good point. The Schiller deck, just out of curiosity, what's the height on that roughly?
I think that's 45.
Okay, just curious. Very good. Anybody else? Okay. Anybody? Very good, gentlemen. We appreciate the presentation, and we'll definitely take this under consideration. We'll be working with you throughout the process, and we appreciate the public-private partnership on First Street, and look forward to a resolution on this in the near future on Addison Street. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. It's been a pleasure. See you soon.
All righty. Opportunities, and building a tax base for our schools. We got to see our kids out here earlier today. We got to see a gentleman who probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a police car with a AED in his car, and many departments don't have those in their squads. Providing the best is what we have on our squads, and our mission statement echoes that. And so it's important that we keep the quality of life up in this town. We keep our revenues in place to make that happen and pay our bills. And so with that, item number 9 is an ordinance. I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the ordinance, please.
An ordinance for the levy and assessment of taxes for the fiscal year beginning May 1, 2010, and ending April 30th, 2011, of the City of Elmhurst, DuPage, and Cook Counties, Illinois.
And at this time, I ask for a motion and a second. Put the ordinance on the floor, please. Alderman Hipskin, Alderman York with a second. In discussion. Alderman Pezza.
Thank you. Since it's really bothered me that the thought that we're probably going to be raising taxes again, I just wanted to make sure I did my due diligence in trying to look through everything and see if there's any place or any way we can possibly avoid this or lower it or something. So basically, over the weekend, I ended up reviewing, in preparation for the December 13th TIF Joint Review Board presentation, the TIF Joint Review Board documents. And actually, I was very excited because I found something that actually goes hand in hand with what we were just saying in this presentation. As far as taxpayers paying less due to the TIF. And in TIF 2, there's actually, and I printed these out if anyone would like to see it, because, like I said, I wouldn't have found it until yesterday I was reviewing this. There is a $631,620 surplus. In TIF 2, there is also a working cash fund loan, which is due the Elmhurst taxpayers, a $375,000 IOU. So my thought is, since I confirmed today that this is still in place, the status hasn't changed, why can't we look at this in a win-win where the money is still there, just move it into a new place, being the city coffers where it belongs, because it's
$375,000 of the Elmhurst taxpayers' dollars sitting in TIF 2 that's actually an IOU to the city and the taxpayers, which would basically reduce the amount we have to levy, but it would not reduce the amount in the budget. It would balance out. So the difference between the $600,000 extra we're looking for and the $375, moving it back to where it belongs, would only be $225. So in essence, we'd be keeping the $600,000 to our credit, but that $375 portion wouldn't come directly out of the taxpayers' pockets in a new format. It would be money that's due them being transferred. So I thought this was pretty cool, especially today. The big news is tax cuts all over the news. I was hoping maybe we could do that here and do a win-win using the TIF, paying back that working cash fund loan. So I actually would like to make a motion tonight to amend the levy by reducing the number of the $15,565,952, wherever it appears in the ordinance, by the $375,000, and make sure that $375 is shown as an increase, obviously, in the amounts payable from other sources for the balance, so that the actual tax levy that's being required and certified by the ordinance would be $15,190,952, which basically gets us what we need because of the moving of the funds. So I would like to make that motion for that amendment for the levy this evening.
I'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second by Alderman Bram. Discussion before I think we vote on this. I think our school district would have a little bit of an issue with using TIF surplus and
Oh, no, it's our money. It's due us. It's an IOU.
Right.
From the working cash fund.
Okay, we'll vote on it. No problem. Very good. Okay. Alderman Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, in light of this news, well, before I even get to that, I voted no previously on this tax rate levy due to the fact that I honestly believe that we need to levy some taxes, an increase in a tax rate levy this year, but I wasn't convinced by the report or the discussion that 4.95 total was the appropriate amount. But in light of this information, I was wondering if City Manager Borchert had any comments in regards to this money that was loaned and is due back to the City of Elmhurst.
City Manager Borchert.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not certain of Alderman Pez's the details that she relates. I am well aware of and recall the declaration of surplus dollars in TIF 1 and in TIF 2 to allow the make-whole agreement and the request of School District 205 come to play. And to do that, the city needed to actually take money from TIF 2 and bring it over to TIF 1 to make a short-term loan between the city's funds to then declare surplus dollars, the dollars that District 205 targeted as a need that they had. And the city does need to pay its TIF fund back and then use those TIF dollars for appropriate projects within the TIF tax increment financing district, or declare the dollar surplus, and then every taxing body gets its fair share based on their share of the tax rate that they enjoy. And I am confident that the finance staff has supported the finance committee with a review of all of the city's funds, the utility fund, the parking fund, the working cash fund, and the general fund, the capital improvement fund, as the finance staff and then finance committee evolved and rolled into the recommendations for the required tax levy to support the city's funds in the coming year. I do not believe it would be appropriate to used $375,000 to finance the general fund as suggested.
Thank you. Alderman Gudenkauf.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, my understanding of what Alderman Pez is proposing is that she wants to pay back the working cash fund and not the general fund. And this document, a report that shows the fund balance, the debt obligations for this TIF district, clearly identifies this as a working cash fund loan. So if we took working cash and we loaned it to the TIF, and we're very concerned about our balance of working cash, which we've been talking about for quite a long time, then it makes sense to me to pay back the working cash fund so that that money's then available should we have, oh, I don't know, a snow emergency or something this winter and we need to tap the working cash fund. I know that that was one of the considerations when we were determining our tax levy, was that we're particularly concerned about the level in this fund. Seems to make sense to me.
Very good. Alderman Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess if I may, again, direct my question to the city manager. From my understanding in your summary on this is, I guess I'm unclear on the history of this loan. I believe what is stated here, and it specifically states that it is a loan. I don't understand, I don't have the details, I should state, on what the agreement was to repay this loan or when this loan was issued. But it clearly states that this is a working cash fund loan. I believe Alderman York in discussion in the previous meeting made mention of this tax rate levy to potentially allocate some of those funds to the working cash fund or to our reserves, I believe was stated. So the question being is, what is the direct history and what are the agreements to return this loan back to the city of Elmhurst residents? Because it does seem either today or another time in the near future that this loan is due. So unless there's some official requirements, I don't see why this wouldn't be beneficial to return this back when we are just in dire straits as any other government body within the city and outside of the city.
Very good. Thank you. Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting idea. I just have one concern, and I just would like to make sure that we get the city attorney's opinion on this. We're talking about amending an ordinance and trying to pass an ordinance. This is an issue that we've had in the past. I want to make sure that we do this right if we're going to do this at all, that we make sure that we go through the process and do it correctly. I believe if we pass an amendment, we cannot do the ordinance this evening.
Yes, under Chapter 2, the ordinance would be held over for the next meeting. If the amendment were to pass, right, you would then hold the ordinance.
Right. But if it fails, we can go ahead and vote for.
And if it fails, you can go ahead and move on the ordinance, the original ordinance.
Okay. Very good. Alderman Pezza again.
Just a quick question for our city attorney. I just want to ask, would it be, I guess, I don't know what the word is, appropriate or within our legal limitations as far as TIF goes, to actually raise a levy to the city to basically, if we're saying we're going to keep this money in there and give it to the schools, to raise a levy to the city to actually give to a tax-capped body? Is that something that would be within the legal limitations of a TIF?
I'm not positive I understood the question.
To basically say we're not going to pay the loan back to the city coffers because we want to keep it in there to give to the schools when it's in essence line itemed working cash fund loan, and that's where it belongs. To keep that money in there and give it to the schools instead and then go ahead and raise our tax portion, is that okay?
As I sit here, I can't think of a prohibition that would prohibit you. I mean, you determine your levy, you set that levy. I don't know of any illegality that would preclude you from doing that if you chose to move ahead with the levy. I guess not having thought about it till 5 minutes ago, I'd look at it more carefully if the council wants to move in that direction.
Thank you.
And just for point of discussion, I think that is a concern, you know. We do reports, we have committees, we appreciate phone calls, we appreciate no surprises, but again, we have another surprise. So,
I think it's a good surprise.
yeah, well.
It was a good surprise to me last night when I found it.
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
Let's put this to a vote and see how the surprise goes.
Thank you.
Okay? Clerk Spencer, call the roll. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Alderman Morley.
Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Sorry about that.
First question to City Manager Borchert and City Attorney Storino. Big if, and there's a reason why I'm sure our statute is written this way, if we do make a substantive change to an ordinance, that's why we take 2 more weeks, because we want to see what we're looking at. Are we still, I know we're getting tight on timing to vote for a levy. Are we okay 2 weeks from now if we need to be? Okay, then my other, 2 other points. And then I'll throw the last question out to Mr. Borchert. If there's one thing I've learned in 3.5 years is that these TIF agreements, each one's a different animal. They are unbelievably complicated. I was surprised. I was on finance for 2 years and spent multiple hours with Marilyn Gaston, her attempting to explain to me all the different TIFs and all the different changes that we made to those TIFs. So I, for one, am very uncomfortable making what might be a very good idea, making this change without the guidance of either Tom Trezine or Marilyn Gaston. So that's one caution I have. The other question I do have, though, independent of the TIF requirements or restrictions that we might have, is Mr. Borchert. I don't know if Mr. Borchert answered the question that Mr. Bram threw out there, which was, do we know what the original loan was for, the parameters for the loan? Why did TIF 2 ask for this money? There had to be a good reason.
City Manager Borchert.
I would beg the time to do a detailed memorandum, which we could certainly get in the Thursday packet. I do recall a couple of requests from School District 205 for assistance, which the City Council was interested in responding to affirmatively, that led to the declaration of surplus dollars in TIF 1 and in TIF 2. The total of those then resulted in dollars that District 205 requested, and I believe to provide the surplus dollars in TIF 2, the council authorized a transfer from the working cash fund, I think, to TIF 2, create the surplus dollars in TIF 2, and then did a release, declared the release of those dollars, and that then resulted in the dollars that District 205 needed. Again, whenever the city declares a surplus of funds in the TIF district, those dollars get distributed to all of the taxing districts, not just School District 205. I'm a little fuzzy on the specific recollection of why the working cash fund didn't just do a transfer to 205. I believe it was relating to the make-whole agreement with the District 205 and the desire to declare surplus dollars in TIF 1 to allow that make-whole agreement to work, which also helped School District 205 and then helped the city with the school district support to allow TIF 1 to be extended. Again, I'm fuzzy on the relationship between TIF 1 and TIF 2 and the transfer from working cash to TIF 2. So I will certainly, between now and Thursday, huddle with the finance staff, and collectively we'll do a memorandum for the council and anybody that's interested.
Alderman Rose.
Well, you know, I've chaired the Joint Review Board for TIF 1 now for the last several years, and this is one of the things that I've learned about it, which is a one-page thing makes no sense to me. These TIFs are actually rather complicated, and there are obligations that are several years out. So if you can look at this and say, oh, gee, we have surplus dollars, what surplus is not always surplus. So the most I'd be willing to do in relation to this would be to vote, perhaps the attorney will tell me what the proper motion is, would be to defer or delay this, the main motion, but I would be extremely reluctant without the full TIF report, without the finance department looking at it, without the finance director looking at it, without the finance committee discussing it, passing this in 10 minutes. That is the most irresponsible act I could do yet this year, and I certainly have probably done a few irresponsible acts in my time. So I would, at the very most, I would urge us to not pass this tonight. At the very, the only thing that I would really be able to support is us delaying this in order to get further information. Otherwise, I think this is making a decision based on no information, and I'm absolutely opposed to doing that.
Thank you. City Attorney Storino?
I was just frankly suggesting to City Manager that if there was a spirit to get more information about this, there are a series of options that the council would have. We could, in fact, move to suspend. You have a committee meetings, COW next Monday. You could call a special meeting for that day. Somebody asked earlier, I think Alderman Gutenkopf or Morley about what our time deadline is. To be specific, we must file this levy by the last Tuesday in December. So while there is time is clearly short. But I think with the wisdom of staff and finance in particular, it's here before you now so that we do have some room to maneuver. If that's the will of the council to get more data, we can probably accomplish that between now and Monday.
Very good. Alderman Morley.
I think we're still going to be out of time. If we delay this for a week and then we make a motion to change it, we have 2 more weeks before we can consider a changed ordinance. Is that not correct?
Just the next meeting. City Attorney Storino?
Well,
I mean, short of a special meeting.
You have the 20th, obviously. You have a meeting next Monday, and you have a meeting on the 20th. You're saying that
So the ordinance is not 2 weeks; it's next meeting.
Yeah, I'm saying
if we make a change to an ordinance.
I'm saying that you could call.
Before the committee.
Let me look, but I think you could have a special meeting and deal with this at a week from tonight. And if you couldn't get it done that meeting, you still have the 20th.
Right.
But if at that time we make a change, how much time do we have to consider?
Well, if you make a change, you'd have a change, in my sense, separate than what Alderman Pezza has made tonight. You might have to move it to the 20th. Under the rationale of why you're doing that and what the theory of that is to give people an opportunity to understand it, digest it, and analyze it. People meaning you and the citizens of Elmhurst.
Alderman Rose.
If what I understand correctly, you're saying that as part of the committee of the whole, we can, even as it's a committee meeting, we can set up to do business at that point. We could call a special meeting.
We can call a special meeting.
To do that, so that would be the first part. And if all else fails, we can always vote to change the rules, which we've done before, where we consider a committee report and an ordinance at the exact same meeting. In that spirit, I would ask the maker of the motion and the seconder to withdraw their motion. And I would ask us, if there's a proper motion for me to make as a substitution, that we defer, delay, you tell me what the correct one is, for 1 week. So that my first part would be to ask the maker of those motions to pull those back, to remove those.
I'm trying to think, as Alderman Morley is digging into his
With time certain, to a
Yeah,
date certain.
to his
I would
date
move
certain.
to defer to a date certain, and that would be next week.
I'm not certain that, as
It's a date certain.
I was thinking that a motion to postpone to, if this is, I'm not suggesting what you do, but if this is where the council wants to go and think about this and analyze it a little more, a motion to postpone to a week from tonight, might be in order just right now without removing the amendment, because the amendment is really the thing that is looking to modify the ordinance, and getting that on the table is probably what you want to accomplish, so that, again, the citizens and all of you know that it's out there. But a motion to postpone then takes precedence and holds everything, I think, in abeyance. I think that's the theory, but I'll stand corrected if.
A question that, to follow up to that, that is my question. Does, then, if I were to move to postpone, that would take precedence over any amended motion?
You'd have to deal with that postponement, as I understand it, first, before you could go back to start dealing with the amendment and then the original ordinance.
Do I need a second for that motion?
The motion to postpone to a date certain would clearly need a second.
Alderman Rose.
I move to postpone to a date certain, and that would be December 13th.
Very good. And do we have a second? Alderman Mulliner?
You can actually discuss the, not the substance anymore of either of those, but the nature of the postponement. The fact, whether you want to postpone it. You can do that. You can't really discuss anymore the substance of the motion, of the amendment or the ordinance.
And to that message, my only concern is everybody going to be here? Are we going to be able to vote this? We've got people out of town. That's my only concern. Alderman Hipskin, Alderman York, Alderman Wagner. We've got that many people out of town. I would strongly recommend a withdrawal on that, just because it's going to put, I think.
We can discuss that.
You can discuss that and vote on that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Alderman
a good
Morley.
discussion.
I have a point of order question for the parliamentarian. Is Alderman Pez's motion a subsidiary motion? And if so, I think you can only have one subsidiary motion, so I don't think the motion to postpone or date certain, that's a second subsidiary motion.
Well, that's the First Amendment, but there's not been another amendment, just a motion to postpone. I thought about that, but
That's not a subsidiary motion? I don't think so.
I don't think so. But,
I mean,
I'll dig in, but.
Well, it goes back to the question of the motion. Is the motion to postpone to date certain Alderman Pez's amendment, or is that being withdrawn and the motion to postpone the original?
No, I don't think there was no motion to withdraw the amendment.
You understand my question?
Yeah, I do.
think it might be out of order to you can only have one subsidiary motion. I think the motion to amend is a subsidiary motion, therefore the motion to postpone is a second subsidiary motion. I don't think it's in order. But I'll defer to the parliamentarian, because I know he likes that.
I love when you say that. I really do. I love when you say that. I don't think so. I guess I respectfully think that it's...
Don, you're going to have to read this tonight.
Light reading.
I think as long as the will of the council's followed, I will defer to the parliamentarian, no matter how erroneous his opinion may be.
All righty.
So, to further that, the discussion about whether to debate, not the motion itself, but I'm sorry, to delay the timing of it, is in order to discuss.
It is.
Correct.
Okay.
That's why I brought that up, because I'm very concerned about numbers and making sure we've got people here with the holidays around us. Alderman Healy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've been sitting listening to the discussion, and quite honestly, and my apologies to Alderman Morley, wasn't quite paying attention to the line of questioning about parliamentarian, and because something else has been eating at me. I respect Alderman Pez's desire and drive to do whatever possible to levy fewer tax dollars, but something's not sitting right. And I mean, I wish some of these questions could have been asked at 9 a.m. this morning so that city staff may have had some answers as opposed to 9 p.m. this evening. Be that as it may, I'm not a CPA. I tried like heck to stay away from accounting classes in college, but it just kind of dawned on me what's not been sitting right as I'm looking at this sheet. I think the assumption is that this 375 is not on the books in the working cash fund.
A point
Point
of
of
order.
order. I mean, we're supposed to be debating the postponement, not the amendment or the motion at hand.
Alderman Mealy, technically they're right. So we're basically saying is, should we table this or shouldn't we table it? And you know, again, I'm concerned about a quorum.
Well, I guess my question is,
Guess what you could do?
all right, I think it's much to do about nothing, but
Right.
based on accounting principles.
Alderman Rose.
I would like to, actually, I just checked numbers myself, and I actually would, I think postponement is not a good idea, and I would like to withdraw my motion.
Very good. Motion is withdrawn by the person who made the motion at table. Back to the underlying amending motion. Any other discussion before we call the roll?
Just basically, once again, to reiterate, especially since it was requested that we take 500 of the 600,000 that extra we're going to levy and put it in a fund anyways, we already have a big portion of it there due us back. It's there. I confirmed it earlier today. Nothing's changed, and you know, had I not been at the hospital today with my father and then come home and be able to find Mr. Trozine's email confirming this, and then I made these copies and came here tonight, and I thought maybe we would have, and that's why I appreciated Alderman Rose's motion, because then we could have had an extra week if we wanted to get more information from Marilyn or Tom. But I think the bottom line is, if there's money that is clearly designated as the working cash fund IOU to the taxpayers, it's there, it's black and white. To me, it's a win-win. It's almost a wash. We're just putting it in a new place, and this way, we take some of the burden off the taxpayers. That was my goal.
Okay.
And that's what I'd like to see happen.
Very good, very good. Alderman Healy.
Okay, so I can speak now?
You can speak now and go for it.
Okay, so I will not repeat what I started. I will complete my thought. So the thought is that this 375 is found money, that if there was a loan taken from working cash that we could repay with surplus monies, that would be 375 less that we would need to levy. I believe that's the premise, or at least what I believe we're being asked to consider. I'm not a CPA. I tried to stay away from accounting classes in college. However, when the finance staff and the finance committee would have been going through its gyrations, I find it hard to believe that this 375 would have not been accounted for when the levy calculations were done, meaning for it to be a liability for the TIF, whatever one this is, TIF 1? 2. TIF 2, thank you. So it's a liability for TIF 2. It has to be an asset somewhere else. Now, I believe the asset has to be in the working cash fund. Again, I'm a little fuzzy on accounting, but I think it has to work that way. If that's the case, when finance staff was going through its gyrations, finance committee was going through its gyrations, this 375 would have been accounted for in the process of doing the calculation. So I don't know, and if the body thinks it makes sense to postpone, fine. I mean, let's unturn every rock, but to me, I just don't think this is this is not 375 found money. It's on the books. We expect it to be repaid. Personally, I think city staff's going to come back and say, no, we accounted for that. We expect to get repaid. It's an asset to the working fund. Somebody tell me I'm wrong. And if I'm not wrong, then I think we're spinning our wheels.
City Manager Borcher, your hand up?
Well, just two items. Well, certainly between now and Thursday, and would plan on getting a memo that would explain the transaction that occurred several years ago that put a note in the books relative to the working cash fund and the TIF district. But the working cash fund by council policy is to be around $1 million, and there's hardly any dollars there. So one item would be that the 375, once it's able to be repaid, would just be part of the reestablishing of the working cash fund minimum balance that's way below the council's set standard to date. The other item, Mr. Storino reminds me that the city council has every year the opportunity to rebate, adjust its tax levy in January or February. There is a last Tuesday in December limit for the filing of a tax levy. That can be revisited in January and early February, if my recollection is correct, and reduced if there is another way of financing that the majority of the city council would wish to consider. So while you evaluate this issue deeper as you wish, understand that you could, once you levy a tax by the last Tuesday in December, you can revisit that early in the calendar year, but there is a deadline date at which you can't go back. But you can go back and readjust that levy in January or February.
Thank you, City Manager. Alderman Rose?
Yeah, one other comment. I would encourage everyone to attend the Joint Review Board's meeting because a lot of what appears to be these numbers on these TIFs, they're simply not as they appear to be. So I think Alderman Healy is probably correct in that. And reality is this is all the taxpayers' money. It's all the taxpayers' money. So however we're doing it. So I call the question.
Very good.
And we're voting on the motion.
We're voting on the amended motion by Alderman Pezza.
Does that need a second?
Yes.
There's a call to question on the floor, Alderman Brown.
It does need, unless the chair wants to read that there's still more dialogue, otherwise it would need a second.
I'll second.
Alderman Leader, second? To call the question?
Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Can we, point of order?
You need a voice vote on the motion to call the question.
Okay, so we're doing a voice vote on the call the question, which has a motion by Alderman Rose, a second by Alderman Leader. All in favor of call the question, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, ayes have it.
You have to, it needs a two-thirds vote?
Yeah,
It needs
the
two-thirds
question
of-
needs a two-thirds vote.
Okay. Roll call, please. Roll call on the call the question. Clerk Spencer, thank you. I'm sorry.
Rose.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Nay.
Pezza.
No.
Shea.
Aye.
Brigham.
No.
Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Morley.
No.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
No.
Wagner.
Aye.
8 ayes and 5 nays.
8 ayes, 5 nays.
Is that two-thirds?
The motion fails for lack of a two-thirds majority. Okay. Alderman Brown, if you've got something new to add, I'd be happy to go ahead and have you add to this.
In all due respect, Mayor, if you acknowledge that I have the floor, I'm allowed to make the comments that I do deem necessary, not specific comments that are being requested of the chair.
Alderman, I'm running the meeting. If you've got something new to add, please state. Otherwise,
And I'm about to do that,
Okay.
sir. So, as I was stating before I was interrupted, was that I don't see any issue with postponing this when we have had confirmation that with due diligence and research, that we will have the answer that is, in regards to this $375,000 outstanding loan. This is a working cash fund loan, and if City Manager Borchardt's comments are correct, and if his memory serves him correctly, that this was District 205 money, this was over 4 years ago. So even though that we can make the statements of taxpayer money is taxpayer money, this taxpayer money should be, in my account, in the city coffers, not in the TIF district as of today. I did make the request in regards to the status of this loan and when it was made and when it is due. I would definitely think that that is a legitimate request and should be answered. If this loan is not repaid during this duration, during this year, this fiscal year, then I would like to know exactly when it would be repaid. I think that this is an excellent point. If this helps us in our tax rate levy or not, a 1 week, confirmed by the city attorney, delay in actually voting on this is appropriate. To speculate if we're going to have everybody here at the dais is not appropriate. We are here and we are elected to do city business as long as there's a quorum. In my 9 years, and from what I have discussed in other aldermen, even prior to my being elected, we have not had an issue with quorum, be it around the holidays or else. So,
Point of order here.
Yes, Alderman Rose?
I've withdrawn the
Yeah,
motion for postponement.
Yeah, the motion postponed is not on the
So
floor.
I withdrew it.
And
understood. I was leading into my motion, which I would like to make a motion to postpone 1 week.
we already voted on this, though, Alderman, or we didn't vote, I'm sorry, okay.
We
Wanna
did
make a
not vote
motion?
on it.
You're right, okay, stand corrected.
Oh, correct.
Alderman Gutenkopf with a second to postpone for 1 week. All right. On the amended motion.
No. On the postpone, it's on the postponement. The vote would be on the postponement. You can discuss, of course, again, we're back to discussing the postponement.
So we're discussing postponement. Alderman Leader?
I'm ready to do city business tonight, with all due respects.
Very good. Anybody else?
I wanted to ask a question of Attorney Storino. I wanted to be sure that, I don't know if this is point of order or not, I just wanted to be sure that I understood you, that regardless of what we do tonight, that we can decide to rebate or not rebate in January. That's all I wanted to know.
Yes, you can abate. You can abate. Abate. I believe probably all the way through the month of February before the clerk will extend.
January,
so you're going to have all
February.
January and February to abate if you wish to abate.
So regardless if we decide to postpone or not postpone, regardless of what we decide, we have another chance at this. We have 2 months, the whole month of January and most of the month of February, I'm assuming.
Yes, you do. You have to levy. Once you levy,
right,
you then are in a position to abate that levy within the next.
You can't increase it.
So, in other words, information could come in, as I've always said, and I'm not making a speech, but I think it was Winston Churchill who said this, that as the information changes, my opinions change. So, though I'm ready to do city business tonight, I'm also wanted to be clear in my mind that if I decide to change my mind in January or February to abate, I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman. Any other discussion on the postponement? Alderman Shea.
Yeah, in the past, have we ever abated and changed a tax levy in January? Has it ever been done? Because it seems like once it's in, it's in. I just...
City Manager Borchert?
In my recollection, it has not been revisited by the city council. It is understood that it's an option, and it's an option, but my recollection, it has not been exercised.
But we could if this idea were to hold true. And again, I have a concern with 205 and the Park District and all the other taxing bodies. use of TIF funds. Anyway, but we've got, it's good discussion. Alderman Gutenkopf?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, one of the reasons that I think it's going to be extremely helpful for us to hear more information is the fact that the Finance Committee never once discussed this, not as we were discussing this year's tax levy. So for me, having served on this committee for such a short period of time, year and a half or whatever, this is all new information for me, and I'd really like to hear more about it. And I'd like to hear more about it before we vote on the tax levy. And so I don't think it's going to kill us to wait a week.
Very good. Any other discussion? Hearing none, Clerk Spencer, please call the roll and the motion to postpone.
Graham.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Nay.
Rose.
No.
Hipskin.
No.
York.
No.
Healy.
No.
Morley.
No.
Kennedy.
No.
Mulliner.
No.
Wagner.
No.
11 ayes.
No.
I'm sorry, what am I saying wrong?
4 ayes. Gutenkopf, Shea, Pezza, Brown voted aye for the postponement.
Oh,
and
those were...
the balance voted no.
That's right. I'm sorry. Not doing too well tonight.
It's okay.
Okay, so that's 4 ayes. I'm confused.
That's okay. 4 ayes, 9 nays.
9 nays. Okay. 4 ayes, 9 nays.
Clerk Spencer, you're doing a good job. We know you're not feeling well, and you're hanging in there, and this has been one hell of a meeting, so we appreciate your sanity.
I apologize.
So, now back to the underlying motion, which was Alderman Pez's motion to use TIF funds to basically solve our tax levy issue.
I object to
Oh,
that.
excuse me.
Gross categorization.
Do I need to read the motion?
Would
that help?
Yeah.
Yeah, and hand it to me, too.
Okay. My motion was to amend the tax levy by reducing the number 15,565,952, wherever it appears in the proposed ordinance, by $375,000, with the $375,000 shown as an increase to the amounts payable from other sources, so that the actual tax levy, as required and certified by the ordinance, is $15,190,952.
Very good. With that clear, I'd ask Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Pezza.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Hipskin.
No.
York.
No.
Healy.
No.
Morley.
No.
Kennedy.
No.
Mulliner.
No.
Wagner.
No.
Gutenkopf.
Yes.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
No.
Rose.
No.
Okay. 4 ayes and 9 nays.
4 ayes, 9 nays, the motion fails. And now to the underlying ordinance. Clerk Spencer, if you could please call the roll, please.
Okay, that was Hipskin.
Aye.
York.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
Gutenkopf.
Aye.
Pezza.
No.
Shea.
No.
Leader.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Graham?
No.
Looks like 10 ayes and 3 nays.
10 ayes, 3 nays, the ordinance passes. I would just like to comment that in the future, when people have ideas, suggestions, that they work it out at the committee level and they give us notice. I understand Alderman Pez's father was under the weather today, but this is something that we've looked at for months, and this is not the first time that we've had surprises up here by the same alderman that voted no. So, but that's fine. It's, you know, I would just ask for respect for those up here at the dais that put a lot of work in and worked their tail off, and have the respect that when you have a situation that they pick up the phone and call you and present information ahead of time. Also wanted to mention that our TIFs, I think one thing that City Manager Borcher, in that display of our TIF district, in '86, Mayor Quinn put our TIF district in place in our downtown, which is our first TIF, and he had vision that TIF district was declining in EAV, and our job up here is to build a tax base for our schools. $2.2 million in released TIF funds from the downtown, and that's an annual annuity of about $1.54 million a year to our school districts. I went to 205. Some of the aldermen that say our TIFs aren't good didn't go to 205. And quite frankly, I'm concerned about their real initiative to build a tax base for our schools. So I think we need to be pro-economic development. We need to truly put our money where our mouths are. And, to try and release a surplus without going to the other taxing bodies, I think would be a very, very big problem. So, and I personally would be against it. So, especially considering our schools are facing a $3 to $5 million deficit for next year, and they need those dollars. Other business, number 10. Any other business? Alderman Mulliner.
I don't know if it fits under other business, but I'm just going to request that the city manager still put that memo together to explain the situation on this, so that we understand it, so we fully have a better grasp of it.
Should be in the packet Thursday.
Thank you.
Anybody else for other business? Alderman Pezza.
Thank you. Just to clarify for the record, I am an elected official on the Elmhurst City Council, not on the Elmhurst School Board. I am here to look out for the best interest of the taxpayers and the levy we are raising, not the school board levy. And once again, this is why this should have been postponed, to be explained to those that don't understand. This isn't just releasing surplus, just choosing it to go to us. This is a line item, working cash fund, LOAN. It is a loan, it is an IOU that was taken out of the city, not the school or anybody else. It was taken out of the city coffers and transferred into TIF 2. Why? I think I remember why, but we'll wait for that explanation. So just to set the record straight, I represent the city, and this is money that is due, line item, an IOU, to the working cash fund for the city, not anybody else. So that was why I thought this was a good idea. It would have been a nice little early Christmas present to the taxpayers, and I'm sorry it didn't happen. So,
thank you, Alderman. Anybody else for other business? Alderman Rose?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Was that other business that we're going to be voting on, or?
No, that really wasn't other business. That was an issue we discussed prior, so it's kind of inappropriate, but I felt the letter.
Thank you,
sought.
because like I say, I
Yeah.
I represent the people of the third ward, so.
Fourth.
Let people know.
Fourth
Third
ward.
That's right. And I represent the whole town. And my job is here to build a tax base, and I think most of us up here want to do that, so. All right, announcements? I think I got to give a couple plugs here for a couple things we've got going on. We've got a toy drive about Toy Express. It's actually part of our Elmhurst firefighters are looking to raise toys for less fortunate folks, and we are taking those toys at both of our stations, Station 1 and Station 2 on the north and south side of Elmhurst, and also at Station 2, we are taking coats for Chairman Dan Cronin, who is doing a coat drive. So that is going till December 18th. And the toy drive, I believe, is going through roughly the 20th of December. So please, if you have old coats or if you have some toys that you would like to donate, please see our website for details. And I think that's what our town does. We do a lot of things for not only our own community, but for other communities around us that are less fortunate. So thank you for supporting those two causes. Anybody else for announcements? Alderman Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just wanted to highlight something that City Manager Borchert discussed earlier, and that is on Friday we're going to be reviewing the capabilities of the 4 engineering firms that we've shortlisted for the comprehensive plan. So there are 4 very good engineering firms. We started with 6. We're following the qualification-based selection system that we've used now for the construction of the fire station, which was done, 3 or so years ago. The same process was used on the large parking deck, and again, we're using it now for selection of the consultants. Each of these firms is very, very good. Baxter and Woodman we've used in the sanitary side for many, many years. Christopher Burke obviously has done very good work here in the last few months since the flooding events. Engineering Resources was the lead group for the certification of the levee. And V3, I don't know off the top of my head how much we've used them, but they've certainly had a significant presence throughout DuPage County on various stormwater and sanitary water sewer projects. So we've got 4 very good teams in front of us. We're going to have these guys in and see what they have to say, and we'll certainly, I don't think we can lose with any one of them, but we're going to pick the best one that serves our needs, take that to the negotiation phase, and hopefully by the end of the year, we'll be able to talk about who we're moving forward with. So I'm excited about it. We'll spend Friday morning together doing that and report back on the results.
Thanks, Alderman Kennedy. Anybody else for announcements? Hearing none, I'd ask for a motion to adjourn. Alderman Morley with a motion, Alderman Leader with a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? We're adjourned.